And it's show time! Hey, hello everyone from all over the world. Thank you for watching, and I'm really glad to see everyone tonight or this morning, depend of in which area you are on this wonderful planet. So yeah, I have a connection in Australia. I'm so excited, and they are already tomorrow. But for us in America, it's the afternoon in Pacific or evening. So I'm happy we get uh, the way to manage the time zone and everything. So before we go into the interview, I just want to name this wonderful workshop coming with our Patreon community. So it's with Mr. Leo. So here it's coming this weekend. So it's this weekend how Mr. Leo booked 57 outdoor puppet shows from April to July 2020. Whoa, whoa, whoa. How we have done that. So it's really interesting. We will have the guy talking about his reality on that and how he managed the promotion of it in this weird moment that we are in. So yeah, Mr. Leo is really someone that I really enjoy speaking with. If you haven't saw his podcast episode, just have a look on that and you will see we will have a wonderful moment. So I want you to have a look on the description just below the interview about this Patreon community that we built to connect all puppeteer all together and exchange about our wonderful passions for puppetry. So yeah, tonight we are at episode 62. 62 is quite a lot of stuff. We're working a lot on promotion, and we are right now on 4 platforms. With IGTV, we are on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter at the same time. So it's kind of a new era of live streaming. So everyone, thank you. And if you have any question during the interview, just write it in the comment, and please write where you are right now. I'm always happy to see that we are so connected all over. So I stop talking, and I will bring my wonderful guests into the screen. They are in Australia. They have their company since 2012, but they have done puppetry since forever, since they are young. So it's so cool to have them. So let's just, I will bring them into the screen. So it's Brett and Elissa.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you so much to be part of the show.
Our pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yay. So could you, maybe for the people who don't know like you or haven't the chance, because you work with so many people from all around, some builder from all around, could you introduce you and your company to us?
Yeah, well, my name's Elissa.
And my name is Brett.
And we are
Larrikin Puppets.
So that's our intro that we do with the kids. So we're children's entertainers and children's puppeteers. And Larrikin Puppets has been running as a business since 2012, and it was founded by Brett.
Yes, and we perform a lot of live puppet shows. We do a little bit of film and TV when it comes up. There's not a whole lot of opportunities in Australia for film and TV, but we do take them up whenever they come up. But predominantly we do live puppet shows in kindergartens and schools, shopping centres, festivals, all sorts of different events, big and small. And
we've just released 4 songs sung by the puppets, so that's pretty exciting.
Yes, it's not usual that a puppet show would release music. We're not a band, but I'm a musician as well. So we released 4 fun songs on Spotify and a bunch of other streaming services, sung by our puppets. Fun songs for kids.
So cool. I love that. Song is so entertaining. So that's amazing. So yeah. Are you ready, both of you? I don't know how we will manage all the questions, but it's always deep question from the Puppet Podcast. But feel free to answer, and maybe this gentleman in the middle could answer.
Hello there, my name is Scrambles.
Oh, Scrambles. Thank you to be there too. So yeah, if you want to answer Scrambles, you are really free to pop up. Sometime we have the puppet vision towards Puppeteer, so it's really brilliant.
Thank you very much.
And that's a good point. So we should point out that we're Muppet-style puppeteers. So we perform hand puppets. So that means that we usually hide behind a puppet theatre and puppet up, or we hide behind a camera or a film.
Below the frame.
So we don't usually perform side by side with our puppets.
No, we don't usually show ourselves. We're always hidden away.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's so cool. And I want to know, the first question is always the why. Why do you cherish the art of puppetry?
Well, I just fell in love with it when I was about 3 years old. I just loved everything Jim Henson was doing. I loved the Muppets and Sesame Street. And my parents would tape on the old VCR, back when we had those, footage, documentaries of Jim Henson and his team working on the Muppets and Sesame Street, all this behind the scenes stuff. And as a very small child, I was just fascinated. And I used to love watching the Muppets and Sesame Street and Fraggle Rock, and just still enjoying the characters and the story, but just really loving the manipulation of the puppets and how the lip sync worked and how the arm rods worked. And I'd have towels or tablecloths or handkerchiefs, and I would be holding them and operating them and pretending that they're puppets, and just trying to work out how it works. And my parents eventually bought me a couple of little puppets, a duck, a hippopotamus, and I would practice, and I sort of taught myself growing up. I did puppet shows around the house for my family and at school during the lunch times in the library, and just always loved it. And I always wanted to be a puppeteer. So my earliest school report cards, you can see little lines from the teachers saying, wants to be a puppeteer when he grows up. So I've always had that dream, and I've followed it my whole life. I'm just very fascinated by it. I love the look of the puppets. I love all different types of puppetry, but that Henson style, Muppet hand puppet style that really fascinates me still to this day. I love it so much.
Yeah, I love that we get the crush. Yeah, that's so cool. And you, Sam, how was it?
So, well, basically, so I met Brett 1 year into his puppet business, and I supported him like through its growth, I suppose, but I'd never really picked up a puppet until about 3 years ago when I was in New York.
4 years ago now.
4 years ago,
yes.
When I was in New York, and I was at the Puppet Kitchen and with Michael Schuback, and that was pretty much the first time I picked up a puppet and was taught puppetry. So Brett didn't teach me puppetry, Michael Schuback did, but Brett is my, I guess, puppet master. So I learned on the job with Brett over the last 4 years. Yeah, but I had a passion for one of my earliest Muppet memories, I guess, is singing Rainbow Connection on a bus full of tourists in America when I visited there, and also as a teenager I loved Fraggle Rock and Dark Crystal. So the first thing I did when the internet was invented was go on the internet and Google Dark Crystal puppets to find out how they worked. Yeah.
So good. So cool. So yeah, and maybe Brett, you have a moment. I really love to have an anecdote of a crush moment, like, you know, when you feel this, like, this art form get me moment.
When did it really get me? I guess every time I saw anything by Jim Henson growing up, I fell in love with it. But I think I was 11 years old when Jim Henson died, and that really upset me, because I was so much of a fan at the time, and I just thought, what's going to happen now? Is that it? Are the Muppets gone? Does this sort of puppetry die with Jim Henson? And thankfully it hasn't. And I just always vowed to grow up and do something myself in this style, whether it's going and working with that team, or whether it's starting something myself. There are so many different other puppeteers who do this style outside of the Jim Henson Company or Sesame Workshop or the Muppets. So I guess I just always wanted to keep that style of puppetry going. I just love it so much. A moment though, I guess I
Avenue Q.
Oh, Avenue Q. So in 2012, my first opportunity to perform for a live audience with puppets was when I auditioned for a local production of Avenue Q in Brisbane, here in Queensland. And it was wonderful. I got into the show, and I got to perform with puppets on stage to laughing, applauding audiences. And I thought, this is it. This is definitely it. This is the first time I've performed for a large audience. I have to do more of this. I sort of became addicted, I guess, during Avenue Q. That was just before I started my business. So I was doing all sorts of other things. I was playing music in bands, playing piano in bands. I studied animation and film, but I was working in other jobs, not very unfulfilling jobs, working in supermarkets and working as a cleaner, working in call centers. Yeah, they weren't fun. They weren't enjoyable. They weren't, you know, puppetry was just something, a side hobby. So I really, once Avenue Q was really what bit me and said, this is it. This is you have to do this full time. And so I did everything I can to get to a point where I could do this full time, because it was my calling.
So cool. And I have to say, I will go to see the chat, because you have some people, some fan. So I will bring those person into the screen right there. Look at this one. I can drop it.
Some fans.
So we have here.
We love
Wow,
thank you, the juicy orange.
Yeah, and you have a question from the audience, so maybe it will interrupt the feel of the question, but I have this one up here from Fernando. Where do you get inspiration for puppetry? That's kind of a good question.
Well, I guess for me, I fell in love with a puppeteer, and Brett's passion for puppetry is really contagious. Brett, as a human, is quite an unassuming person. So he's not someone who like stands out in a crowd, but when he's performing puppetry, he has the he has the ability to bring these amazing characters to life, and these characters just become become their own people, and it's quite amazing to watch that. So that kind of inspired me to pick up a puppet. I actually suffer, I'm a terrible actor because I suffer performance anxiety, and so performing puppets gave me, I guess, an outlet to experiment with character voices and character and storytelling and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
And like Elissa said, you know, as a human, I'm not very charismatic like a magician or a ventriloquist.
Yeah.
But when I hide behind something and a puppet comes up, that puppet comes to life, and something, I don't know, something comes out of me that just brings this puppet to life and becomes this charismatic character, which is so outside of who I am as a person. But I don't know, I can bring life to puppetry, to puppets, and just everything Elissa said.
And I'm also passionate about social change and impact and kindness and spreading words that support sort of kindness and diversity and inclusion and all those kinds of things. So it's wonderful to be able to use puppeteering as a way to actually include those messages in our shows. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's really philanthropic. I feel your passion towards humanity, and also a lot of freedom that puppetry brings you, and it's so touching. I want to say that that's true, that you're charismatic. You are really charismatic.
Well, there's performers that get up on stage and they're so confident and hey, welcome to the show. Hey, I get on stage and I'm like, hi, but I put a puppet on and the puppet just takes over. So I mean, I get booked to do. So I've got my main character Trog. I'll show you him. There is another.
It's true. It's mystery.
He's
Oh,
my main character, and those even people who don't really know me or us have probably seen this character floating around the internet. I mean,
yeah.
when we went to the USA a few years ago, and I brought Trog along, a few people we didn't know were saying, "Oh, it's Trog. We've seen him on the internet. We didn't realize that was you guys." And hello, I'm Trog. Yes, it's good to see you. People book Trog as an MC at their events, so I hide behind a little table, and Trog hosts, and it's been sometimes film festivals or media launches, product launches, even a wedding reception. So Trog has emceed people's weddings, and because I can bring out this charisma in this character, which I, as a human, don't have. So I'm not trying to put myself down. I'm just saying puppetry brings out the best in me. Yeah, and me. Yeah.
That's such a moment. I like this. It's so cool. Yeah, and it's funny because for sure a puppet could be, you are kind of the manager of the puppet.
Yeah.
And they get some gigs. So
Yeah, that's right.
them as artists. That's so cool. And I want to know, it's always funny to ask, but in your opinion, what is the best field of study to become a puppeteer?
Well, for me personally, I studied drama in high school, and Elissa did too, didn't you? You studied drama. I studied music my whole life, piano. And I also studied, after high school, I studied animation and film and TV. So with all of those things combined, there's a little bit of performance, a bit of technical knowledge, animation in particular. It's taking, well, inanimate objects and bringing them to life. But puppetry is kind of like a real life animated cartoon. Instead of redrawing the same thing over and over and over slightly differently, you can actually have this real life cartoon character that moves in real time, and it's three-dimensional, and people can see it and talk to it, and it becomes a real character. I know that there are some parts of the world where they actually have puppetry courses and workshops that you can learn in university. If that opportunity was available to me, I probably would have taken that up, but at the time there wasn't any puppetry courses for me. So even though I'm self-taught, I really did want to get some sort of formal training. So that's why we went to the USA, and we did sort of casual training at the Puppet Kitchen in New York. But also I did an intensive course in Texas called Beyond the Sock. And it was run by Marty Robinson, who performs Telly Monster and Mr. Snuffleupagus on Sesame Street, and Noel McNeil, who's famous for performing Bear in the Big Blue House. And it was just wonderful to be able to work with those amazing puppeteers, these Jim Henson puppeteers, heroes of mine, and just sort of get some of my existing skills validated. So there were some things I was doing right, and there were a whole lot of other things that I was able to learn, new skills, how to improve my skills and just get better. And I don't think I would have been able to really know how to get better if I hadn't gone and done that formal training. So I really do think that it's important, even if you don't have access to a formal university degree in puppetry, it's important to take up any workshops, vacation workshops, short-term ones, jam sessions, anything like that, where you can work with other puppeteers and sort of learn new skills and swap ideas. Just any kind of workshops that you can do with puppeteers is very, very helpful. It certainly helped me, and Elissa learnt everything when she was over in New York as well.
Well, I learned everything on the job, really, for the 4 years that I've been doing it. So yeah, I do value in university education. I've got 3 degrees and nothing to do with theatre or arts. So it's in coming into this with Brett, I wasn't going to go back to university and do another degree. I've already got a Master's of Arts in Social Science. So for me, it was really about learning on the job and bringing out something different, I guess, in myself. And it was really about building up confidence and competence over time. So I really enjoyed that process. But I think everyone comes through different pathways. And often some people aren't academically inclined to go to get into university. And I don't think that should put them off performing puppetry. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so a good answer, and that's true that we can learn on the job. That's the best. Something we learn from books, but to do it is really the best learning, I think. Also,
and also being really open to continuing learning as well.
We never stop learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. And even some of the greatest puppeteers, when you hear interviews with them, a lot of them say that they found themselves in a situation where they were on the set of the Muppets or Sesame Street and they learnt on the job. And they sort of humbly say, oh, no one ever taught me. I just kind of learnt on the job. And that's inspiring too. Today, we're so lucky that we have puppeteers out there willing to share their skills and teach and run workshops, whether they're little casual workshops or more intensive ones. Yeah. We're very lucky that there are people out there willing to help. Yeah. And we ourselves now run workshops at schools and theatre companies.
But I also think practice is really important.
Oh, yeah.
And also practicing, we call it rehearsing in front of an audience, but also practicing in front of an audience to understand what's funny, what's going to get laughed at, what absolutely flops, what you're going to do again, what you're going to scrap. The education that comes from performing in front of an audience, so getting out and actually doing that rather than just practicing at home, I think has enormous value.
Oh, yeah. Some of my earliest puppet shows when I started Larrikin Puppets, before Elissa and I were together, I would go out and do these shows, and if the audience burst out with laughter at one particular scene or gag, I would say, that's it, that's staying in the show. If I do something else that I'd rehearsed at home and I thought it was funny, but I get crickets from the audience, I think, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to cut that from the show. And over the years, we've built and grown these shows based on everything that's funny and everything the audience loves. So there's still some content from my original shows that are still in the shows that still get laughs, and a whole lot of new stuff that we've put in that just works. So it's all about growing and evolving and changing to keep up with what's popular, what's being laughed at, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so true. And I have some question from the audience again. So let's bring it up right there. Yeah. Are all puppeteers secretly shy?
Well, so I'm not shy. I think I am an introvert, which to me just means that I renew my energy in my own home, in my own space, rather than sort of getting energy from other people. But I guess I've run for actual political public office 5 times, so you can't be shy to do that kind of thing. And I've also sort of worked in non-profits and corporations in PR and marketing. So all of my work has been front-facing, you know, as myself, as a human. So I have actually, I'm not a shy person, and I have built up lots of confidence over time. Now, performing theatre to me is like completely different. Performing a different character kind of has made me a bit shy and anxious. So I think to kind of answer the question, I would say puppetry is great for shy people.
Like me.
Because you don't have to be seen and you can be someone completely different. And I think it's wonderful. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a very shy, introverted person, a very awkward person as well. I was that strange, awkward, shy person at the party, sitting in the corner by myself, practically mute. I was a very awkward child and an awkward young adult. But when I'm a puppeteer, it brings out that confidence, like I mentioned before. So, and I think there are a lot of shy puppeteers. I love meeting other puppeteers and sharing stories with them. And I have met some amazing puppeteers who are also very shy and quiet and softly spoken. And it's amazing when you meet some of these puppeteers who are just so humble and they just talk very quietly and they're very, oh, hi, how are you today? It's very Jim Henson is a perfect example of someone, when you saw him in interviews, he was so shy and quiet and humble. But when Kermit or Ernie or Guy Smiley or Dr. Teeth are out there, they're wild, they're crazy, they're fun. And I think it brings out that confidence. Puppetry can bring out the confidence in a lot of very shy people. So yeah, there are quite a few shy puppeteers out there, but not all of them. I know there are some loud and crazy, confident puppeteers out there too.
That's a good statement to bring this about, the confident, and I really appreciate it. I want also to know your definition of a puppet. You know, sometimes you have to answer to children, but also to family members. How you define a puppet?
I think this is something that a lot of people would say. It is taking an inanimate object and bringing it to life. And you can make puppets out of all sorts of things. This is a football, and it looks like a football with eyes, but you can actually make a puppet out of it. So, but it doesn't even have to be a puppet. You could take anything, and if you bring it to life, even children playing with teddy bears and dolls, and they move them around, that's sort of a style of puppetry, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, look, we have this cheesecake here as well. Looks like a delicious cake with strawberries. And of course, hello there. Cakes can come to life too. Yes. So I think it's taking any inanimate object and bringing some sort of life to it. I think that's my definition of puppetry. And in most cases, where most people are familiar with puppets that have faces, mouths, eyes, facial features, bodies, they can move around, and you kind of relate to that as this creature, this monster, this animal that is, it looks like something that is a living animal, but certainly a football or a cake or anything like that, if you can bring life to it, that is puppetry, I think. What about you? What do you think? Just
the same.
The same, yeah.
I love the cake example. Anything can be a puppet, even a cake.
It looks like a real cake at first. We do this act in our puppet show where the cake sits up there still, and Trog, the blue monster, sings a song, and the cake just sits there, and then eventually the cake starts singing along too, and everyone just bursts out laughing because suddenly this inanimate cake comes to life and starts singing too. So that's always a lot of fun
cool.
to get those audience reactions.
And Elissa, you were saying, because I'm talking about definition of puppet, but before the interview, we get the chance to talk a little bit, and you were talking about the aesthetic of the puppet. Like you really enjoy when it's really nice done.
Yeah, I do.
Your definition, right?
I do. So neither of us are puppet builders. Brett's built one puppet under instruction at Beyond the Sock, but I really respect the art of puppet building and puppet builders, and I think it's a whole different thing that I don't have the time or inclination or talent, I don't even think, to actually do because I'm not a visual artist. So, but I appreciate nice things.
It's an art. Puppet building is an art in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. So when we're doing a new show that we were going to launch this year, but we're launching it next year, and it's called Hijabi Girl, and it's based on a children's book here in Australia, and it's basically about multicultural inclusion in schools, and it's about a little girl who is wears a hijab, and she's just happy and confident being herself, and that's what the story's about. And so we did a crowdfunder and we raised $8,500, which we're really happy with. And what that enabled us to do was we've built about 11 puppets so far, and we've got a couple more to go. But I think we've commissioned about seven different puppet builders to build those puppets, and they're all absolutely exquisite. So we just chose different puppet builders based on their talents. Every puppet builder has a different style and talent and quality about them, and so it was really nice to be able to buy some really beautiful puppets. So should we show one?
Yeah, well, I will say
the football's an example. That was by Prairie Puppets in the US.
I will say that Elissa says she's not a visual artist. I am a visual artist, but I'm not good with sewing and gluing. But I do design puppets and then send those designs off to puppet builders. This is my original design for Trog. So I did that years ago, and then it was built. But of course, our Hijabi Girl puppets, I designed the puppets for that. Oh, this is Melik. So this is my design for Melik, and then of course the puppet has come out beautifully, and she and a cast of children characters were built by the Puppet Creation Lab and Puppet Tribe, and they're both based in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. They're beautiful puppets. The football was made by Prairie Puppets in the USA, and then this is a collection of rice paper rolls, Vietnamese rice paper rolls, built in Indonesia by
Feriana,
a friend of ours called Feriana from Puppeteer.
Yeah. So we won't do a show and tell, but
yeah, but that's
basically
what we do. We design the puppets and then get them built by skilled puppet builders who know what they're doing, and then we come and then we sort of do back and forth, to and fro, and then we get the puppets and then we perform them, and that's where our specialty lies, in actually bringing the puppets to life and performing them.
That's so cool. It's kind of the first time I get in touch with someone who get different builders, and I think it's really smart in the process, because you get different vibe from every puppet and every universe of this. You have a universe around the character, so that's really cool. And I want to know your biggest purpose as a puppeteer, like your future vision, or where you want to go in your career, what you want to achieve. Do you have something? It's kind of the big opening question.
So for me, it's really important to promote kindness and diversity and inclusion. So that's really important for me in terms of the purpose of the message that we're spreading, I guess, as puppeteers. But our ultimate goal is to have a TV show on Australian TV and have a puppet TV pilot happening that we can actually pitch. So we've got, we have got an idea for a whole new set of puppets and a whole TV pilot. And so that, TV puppetry and puppets on TV, where you can actually have a bigger sort of audience, is really amazing and important for me. I suppose that's the ultimate goal. And but we also do love live shows. I don't think we'll ever give up sort of live touring until we get too old. Yeah. And the music component is really important to us as well. So we love our new songs, and we really want to get them out there and listened to by kids. So our audience is unashamedly 2 to 8 years old, and that is our audience, and that's who we are trying to reach and touch and make sure they grow up to become amazing adults.
So one audience at a time, we promote our songs, and we teach about the kindness and the inclusion, and we bring a lot of laughs and joy to audiences as well. That's one of the big important things I like about puppetry. I love making people laugh. I love just inspiring people. I really love when people say, hey, that was amazing, I've never seen anything like it before, and that really, I like bringing that kind of vibe to audiences. But to be able to do it on television would be amazing. We have filmed puppets for TV here and there, and we've done a couple of things with our main characters, and also I did some puppetry for a children's fantasy TV series called The Bureau of Magical Things. I played a magical pogo stick. So these are they're jumping up and down. They edited me out of the shot, and it just looked really amazing. It was they could have used CGI, but they actually used a puppeteer, which was amazing. Any job that comes up in television, we say yes to, because we just love the opportunity to get puppetry out there on television more and more. Growing up, we used to have a lot more puppets on TV in Australia. Currently, there are no puppets on television in Australia. We kind of want to bring that back. It would be really nice to get on TV and have our puppets, or any puppets for whatever show, just inspire and bring joy to people.
I also perform as a human in our puppet shows. So I was a dancer for 20 years, and so we do a dance song called Dance Like a Unicorn. And so for me, it's really important in children's entertainment to actually be like a woman who's older in a larger body and actually role model that people can be like me and be happy and be active and be doing cool stuff without sort of judgment and shame and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's something else that I have as a little side purpose.
I guess that's one of the things that sets us apart from other children's entertainers. We're a puppet show.
We're not young and pretty.
Yeah, we're not young and pretty. There are a lot of children's acts that are young and cool and pretty, and they're bands or they're musicians, and they do really great things as humans. Here we are with our puppet show. We've got songs, but we're a puppet show. We're older. We're in our 40s, but we still go out there and bring smiles and laughter to children and their families and teachers. And
I'm cool. Like Brett's not cool, but no, I'm really cool.
I'm not cool. Yeah. Elissa is cool.
It's funny because Puppeteer have all kind of background, shape, fashion. It's kind of a really welcoming community, and they have like. I feel it from everyone I interview also. It's kind of really for everyone. It's an open job for every casting. That's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
And we have you can answer. I have a question from the guests, but from the audience, but I will bring it after.
Oh, I was just going to say that even though we are older adults, our characters can be any age they like. Elissa plays a character called Marina, who is a 3-year-old, and she relates so well with the other 3-year-olds in the audience. So when we go to a childcare centre or a kindergarten, let's bring Marina out. When we go to a childcare centre or a kindergarten, and Marina comes out to say hello to the children, the other 3-year-olds will look at Marina straight in the eye and have a conversation. So you've got these 2 3-year-olds just talking as if they're both.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Marina.
Hi, Brett. Hi, Caroline. Hi, all the people out there. Yeah, I only little.
Yeah. How old are you, Marina?
Yeah, I'm 5.
You're not 5. You're 3.
I'm 3. I'm only little.
So cute. Yeah, you have a beautiful dress. Little.
Oh, yes. Lovely dress.
Yeah, so cute. Yeah, we have Viviana who say, I love her. So cool. You have a comment. So yeah, you have a Connor. Connor was a guest in the previous podcast. Let's bring Connor question right here. What is the most difficult obstacle you both have encouraged while touring?
Wow. Difficult
So we love touring. We love touring regional Queensland because it's a huge adventure. The biggest obstacle, I guess, is a lot of it is sort of in. Well, put it this way. I will never forget making like a peanut butter sandwich on top of an esky.
A suitcase.
On top of a suitcase with no plate, no knife.
Hotel rooms.
In a hotel that had no sink or kitchen. And I was in my full like costume, so I looked very glamorous.
While making a peanut butter sandwich on a suitcase in a dusty old hotel room in the country.
And one New Year's Eve, our show got rained out. It got cancelled, so we didn't even make it to the show. So we stayed in our hotel room for New Year's Eve, using a spoon to cut cheese.
They had a teaspoon for us, but they didn't have a knife.
So I know it sounds really weird, but for me, they're funny, delightful memories.
Yeah.
But it also is probably for me the hardest thing about touring is just those really uncomfortable moments of
making do with whatever you've got. We don't have a knife to cut this cheese, so we'll just use a teaspoon. We don't have any table or kitchen appliances here, so we'll just we brought some bread, so we'll make a sandwich on a suitcase that we'll bring for lunch today during the show. And just all
Yeah,
the glamour.
There's no glamour.
There's no
There's no
glamour in touring, but it's so much fun when you can go to places far, far away. We go 10 hours away. Sometimes we've gone on an aeroplane and flown to places far away with all of our puppets and equipment, and perform for people far, far away. And I think there's something really rewarding about that. The airplanes, I guess that's another difficult thing, like weighing all of your puppets, staging all the equipment and getting it safely to the other end, making sure none of it gets damaged or lost. There's always a little bit of anxiety there about flying all of the puppet equipment. But we flew it all the way to the USA, and I did some performances in New York with my stage and puppets and everything, and it all got there and it all came back safely. So thankfully it's been fine. It's been fine, despite all the anxieties around it.
Yes.
Yes. And I have another question. You have like many questions here. It's a good one also. What do you most like about writing original song for your puppets?
Oh gosh.
Well,
For me, I'll just put it out there. It's just a total rock star moment. Like, I never thought I would write and release a song. That wasn't something. I'm a consumer of music. I never thought I'd be a creator of music. So it's just been an amazing thing to be able to work with Brett and another musician on actually getting these songs out. So for me, having the ability to songwrite means I have a voice, and that's really an amazing thing to actually have that voice and see it come out at the other end. I don't know, it's a rock star moment.
Yeah, particularly when we sing the songs live in front of an audience and they enjoy it and you get that feedback afterwards. I've been a musician forever as well. I've played in several bands, so I write the music side of it, a lot of it, along with a friend of mine who was in one of my bands that were around for a long time. Elissa's great at writing lyrics and poems and things, so she comes in with a lot of the words and lyrics.
Yeah, so our I guess philosophy is that we don't talk down to children. So Brett and I don't talk down to kids. So when we do our shows, we don't talk down to them. When our puppets talk to the puppets that talk to the kids, the puppets don't talk down to them. Musically, we didn't want to talk down to the kids either.
So the music's a bit more complex.
A lot of our music is actually quite, for lack of a better word, adult in its actual musical style, but the lyrics are for kids. They're not for adults. We're very G-rated.
We find that we wanted to create music that the adults could enjoy as well, while the kids could listen and enjoy the lyrics on their level. We don't like to be too babyish with our music. It does mean that we don't necessarily get played on children's radio. No.
So that's okay with us. We're, I guess, an alternative kids band, and I guess we can't wait to go out and perform our live shows to our audiences who are going to really love these songs. Like we just know they are.
We know that during the pandemic we've been doing online shows and using these songs, performing these songs online, and all of the feedback we've received from kids, parents, teachers, they've all said the songs sound really fun and great, which is lovely feedback. I just love getting that kind of feedback and knowing that we're doing something right. I think the reason why we write songs that are a bit more musically complex for children is because we know that there's all of these trending memes and videos out there of babies in the back seat, or children and babies and toddlers in the back seat of their car headbanging to heavy metal, or dancing to rock or pop or EDM dance music, which is adult music. It's not children's music, but kids do love adult music. So we thought, let's make some music that's a bit more complex for children with child-friendly lyrics, and the kids and parents can rock out and enjoy some music that isn't, that doesn't sound like nursery rhymes or whatever. Yeah,
I feel it's a good choice to do it like this. I think it's as like the animation movie. Also, the music is always like it's cool. It's cool music. Your rock band, rock star analogy.
Yeah.
Do the last question. I think chunk 2 questions at the same time. I want to know, do you feel our art is in an ascension, and where do you see puppetry in 10 years? Like, do you feel we will in 10 years like be in this golden age? What is your opinion on that?
I think it's coming back. When I started Larrikin Puppets, puppetry had it was starting to disappear. And I know that at the time when I set up my business, there wasn't a whole lot of puppetry in Australia, particularly in Brisbane, where I was. There was a lot of magicians and clowns and musical acts, and even animal petting zoos and things like that. And I thought, where's the puppet shows? I grew up watching puppet shows. I saw marionette shows, Punch and Judy, even a few Muppet-style puppet shows growing up. They all disappeared. So I thought, let's bring some puppets out there, because even then I could see the growth. There was a new Muppet movie at the time. Sesame Street was going strong still. Avenue Q was a popular show at the time. And I thought, there's got to be room for this. And as over the years, as we've built and grown Larrikin Puppets, we've seen lots of other puppeteers, lots of other puppet shows. We've seen new puppet movies and puppet TV shows, and it just seems to have really grown.
Funnily enough, some adults don't get puppets. It's the kids that get puppets. We know that there's adults that get puppets, like we get puppets.
Yeah.
But
understand them.
Yeah. But kids, they have the ability to suspend disbelief like that.
Yeah.
And it's just a magical experience and conversation that we have with kids. So I don't even know what the question was.
Well, where do you see it in 10 years? I see.
Yeah. So, but there's no puppets on Australian TV at the moment. So the last puppet to be cancelled was Giggle and Hoot. So Hoot the Owl, which is a very famous puppet in Australia. So it sounds like that's like means that it's kind of becoming less popular. But we're pretty committed to changing that. To getting puppets on Australian TV.
It's up to us and us alone to bring puppets back to Australian TV. But in terms of the global puppetry, particularly in the USA, we are seeing amazing things happening with puppetry in film and TV, like the Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance? I hope I'm saying that correctly. the Netflix prequel series of the Dark Crystal, where the brilliant, beautiful puppets with live sets were there, and they were filming it in such a way where CGI was used just to assist removing arm rods or removing puppeteers from the scene to bring the puppets to life even more. Like, it's almost like film and TV's come to a point where CGI, everyone's bored of CGI, and filmmakers are wanting that practical, real life, physical aspect of puppetry back again. Like I mentioned before, that I performed a pogo stick in a children's series just for one episode, The Bureau of Magical Things, and I was removed from the shot, so the pogo stick came to life. They could have just animated a CGI pogo stick, but they chose to use a puppet, and I was so grateful for the opportunity to puppeteer this object. But the same with the Dark Crystal, with real puppeteers, real characters, physical characters. The Happy Time Murders that the Jim Henson company made a few years ago, the adults-only puppet movie. Again, brilliant puppetry, and they used CGI to remove arm rods and remove puppeteers out of the shot. So I think we're going to see a lot more combined puppetry with CGI assistance to bring physical, practical effects and puppetry back into film and television.
But when we're talking now, we're talking about our sort of narrow hand puppet, Muppet-style puppetry that we focus on. In Australia, the sort of high art forms of puppetry at theatre are still very popular. And we love to go and see those shows. So it's still out there. It's just more in the art community rather than in the mainstream, I would say. Yeah.
So good. And I have like your duty about film make my friend Raleigh Santana say, have you ever thought of a future film with puppets, since Brett is also a filmmaker?
I would love to make a feature film with puppets. I only studied film and TV for 1 year. The technical side of it wasn't my strong point, But when I have worked with film crews for TV shows or short films, even student films, I've said yes, put my hand up and helped out. I love the work of the film crews that perform, and I work with them as a puppeteer. So like being able to work with skilled people on film and TV sets is just brilliant, and to be able to do puppetry on film, it would be lovely to work with a crew who is keen to create a Muppet-style puppet feature film in Australia.
A feature film is a big commitment. I think
even a TV
series would be our kind of favorite formula, I think.
Yeah. One of the things we learned in the USA when I did that intensive course with Noel McNeil and Marty Robinson was the art of monitor puppetry, which is the Jim Henson style of film and TV puppetry, where the puppeteer watches themselves watching their character on a monitor to see exactly what the viewers would see, making sure your head's out of shot, keeping arm rods out of shot, keeping the puppet eye focus looking good and lip sync. All of those skills were amazing to learn, and there's still a lot of film and TV people in Australia who actually don't know anything about monitor puppetry and how it works. I've gone onto sets and they've said, yeah, Brett, just hide behind that table, pop your puppet up and go from there. And I'm working blind, and I've said, can I have a monitor? And sometimes filmmakers will be a little bit confused. Why would you need a monitor? Why should you see what you're doing on screen when all the other actors can't see what they're doing on screen? It's like, well, because I need to be able to see my puppet and keep my head out of shot and make sure the puppet eye focus. Otherwise, I'm working blind, and the puppetry just looks terrible. It's
an education process that that sometimes we have to have with the videographers, because it's not a popular TV style in Australia.
It's not something that's being taught to filmmakers in Australia, monitor puppetry. So we sort of like to...
The other thing is student films. Often students, filmmakers will use puppets, but they'll use them in violent, sort of R-rated ways. And so Brett's performed in a couple of those short films, but we reckon a fantastic student film would be one that's whimsical for children, G-rated, and with a wonderful, amazing story. Like that, I reckon that's the student film that would win awards.
We love the whimsy and magic of puppetry, and while I do go along and perform puppets in short films that have the puppets swearing and waving guns around and doing drugs, it's like I would really much prefer to have a beautiful, whimsical,
about kind
puppet movie for children.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we're softies.
We're softies.
I agree. I'm too.
I think we've seen enough of adult edgy puppets with violence and drugs and things like that. There's a lot of it. I can see where it's funny. A lot of people still find it funny, but I think it's time to maybe have a look at some kind, whimsical puppetry. So if there's any filmmakers out there in Australia who feel like maybe a nice,
would be so cool to see a TV series with your puppetry. So we're down for that.
We'd love that.
We are working on it.
We're working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be in a film or a TV series.
Yeah. I want you too to be famous. Star. Thank you so much. It was such a wonderful interview, and we have like big comments. You will have to see it after the interview. Beautiful stuff. People love your job, and they say it was genius. We have this genius.
Wow.
So
that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we have a special request. You show us many puppets during the interview, but for the conclusion, do you have a final one you want to bring to the screen to share it with us?
Probably.
Right. We will get our
Bangles.
Oh, all right. Here's a brand new puppet, also made by Prairie Puppets. Her name is Bangles, and she's very lovely. And I'll get Free Range the Chicken out because a lot of people love Free Range the Chicken. This is the puppet that I built myself with a lot of help.
Free Range is a bit TikTok famous.
Yes. Oh yeah. We're on TikTok, and we people seem to love the chicken on our TikTok.
Okay.
I will put you in big shot like this. So
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be better.
Bangles
Oh,
have
so
things.
famous
Very
TikTok.
famous.
Okay.
Yes, I love poetry, and I often have my head up in the clouds.
Flapping her wings there. She's got a little pull string at the back where we can make her wings flap.
Bangles hasn't performed live yet, has she?
No, she came.
So she's still finding her voice.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to introducing her to the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the feather. It's so like light.
Yes, they're all hand glued on, about hundreds and hundreds, I think, of feathers.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a lovely puppet. She was made by Prairie Puppets in the USA, who also made this football.
Yeah.
For us.
So it's kind of a contest between puppetry, poetry, and TikTok fashion.
Yes. Yes.
TikTok and poetry. That's so cool. Thank you so much for all your time, your passion. I think it's marvelous and beautiful. We get those comments right there. So I think
Thank you so much for having us. It's been wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're very grateful to be able to be on the podcast.
Yeah,
So
we
thank
can
you.
talk forever about puppetry.
We love it.
and if people wants to see more of your work and they want to find you or get in touch with you, where they should go?
Yeah, so all the music streaming stations are playing our songs. We'd love everyone to go onto Spotify and listen to our songs. You just search for Larrikin Puppets.
Larrikin is how you spell it, Larrikin Puppets.
And yeah, we're on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok.
TikTok, yep. And YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. It's there's not a lot going on the YouTube channel, but we're gradually building it. And but TikTok and Instagram and Facebook is really where it's at. And our website, larrikinpuppets.com.au.
So cool. Thank you so much. So yeah,
Thank you.
you can I think write down all of those social media maybe below the interview if you have a second after we have Connor, we say let's write this down. So cool. So I say goodbye and a good day. It's the day starting for you,
Yes.
Enjoy your day, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yes. And yeah, everyone, that was so wonderful. I'm happy to connect. Like, it's more than 12 hours. It's so cool to get the chance of live streaming connection international. So I want to remember you this wonderful, again, workshop, the fourth of our series that we get with Mr. Leonardo Velasquez, how Mr. Leo book outdoor puppet show from April to July, how I have done that, but also the promotion aspect of it. So it's on our Patreon page. So just have a look below this interview and you will have all the details. So it's this Sunday at 1 Eastern time. So and we have people joining right there. Lomiga is there. So thank you, everyone. If you haven't seen the beginning of the interview, have a look. We are now on 3 platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and IGTV. So it's so cool. So I will let you on this little jingle that I want to bring into the screen. And I wish you a wonderful evening, everyone. I'm good at this. I'm good. Okay, I have it. Have a good evening, everyone.